You're going to hear from folks in your area, as well as representatives Tonko and Ocasio-Cortez. We're going to spend some time talking about what's happening in Washington, D.C. and here at home. Then, if there's time, we will take some questions from the audience. To get us started today, please provide a warm welcome to the stage for Brandi Lloyd of the Clinton County Dems.
I'm Brandi Lloyd, and I'm so grateful to welcome you all here today. What a beautiful day to be gathered here at the historic Strand Theater, a true gem of our city, and a perfect place to welcome two incredible champions for working people. Who's ready for Representative Tonko and AOC? We're here because the stakes are high. We're here because the moment demands action. The recent federal cuts being pushed through Congress are real, and they will hit our communities hard. These cuts mean fewer resources for health care, public education, food assistance, and housing programs. Things we rely on. Things our families and our neighbors rely on every single day in Clinton County. And who always steps up to fight for what's right? No, not the BC Boys. It's labor. It's CWA. It's 1199 SEIU. It's MAGNA. It's MISIS. Our labor unions are the backbone of the working class. When labor is under attack, so are fair wages, safe workplaces, and the dignity every worker deserves. If we want strong communities, we need strong unions. And we need to stand with them now more than ever. And here's the truth. Change doesn't just happen from speeches or in Washington. Real lasting change happens at the ballot box. And not just during presidential elections. Local elections like the one right here in Clinton County shape our day-to-day lives. Your town supervisor, town council. These positions, these votes, they determine how our budgets are spent, how our records are kept, and how our voices are heard. So let's organize, let's stand together, and let's vote this year, this November. Talk to your neighbors, bring someone with you to the polls, because your vote matters every single year.
Yes.
And when you cast that vote, vote for someone who will fight for us, vote for someone who will fight for working families, and vote for someone who will show up.
Yes.
Because we're the Lord's country. We deserve it. And when we fight, we win. When we fight, we win. Thank you for showing up. Vote for Brandi Lloyd, County Clerk. I'll say it one more time. Thank you. Now let's enjoy this powerful afternoon together. And I could not be more happy to introduce my friend, NYSMA member. She's a mom, a daughter, a sister, a rock star. Founder of Show Up, friends, my friend, Murnane.
Some of you know me as JJ from Show Up. Others of you know me as a community member, just like you, as Jack. Nurses are deeply alarmed by the decision to pass this harmful budget bill that will deepen cuts to Medicaid and other health care programs. This bill will remove access to care for over 1 million New Yorkers. It will destroy hospital funding, cut jobs, and negatively impact all of our communities within our state. Early projections show that these cuts will result in nearly 16 million Americans becoming uninsured and more than 1 million Americans losing their jobs. MAGA voters say that this bill only targets supposed illegal criminals using Medicaid as a form of fraudulent abuse. This is a warning to them. These cuts will ripple into every corner of our healthcare system, from low-income New Yorkers, seniors, and children to people with disabilities, including my dear friend Matt Fox, who inspired the show up from Matthias event last month. He could not even make it here today due to already spread thin services to transport him with the necessary help on a Sunday from Essex County to Clinton County. But if that doesn't hit any of the MAGA check boxes, then maybe consider that in rural New York, essential services like maternal and mental health care are routinely cut because they don't make as much money as other services. Over the last 20 years, New York lost 15% of its maternity beds, including our labor and delivery department at Alice High in Malone. If you are an active laboring mother, you must either go to CVPH or Potsdam, a distance of 2 hours from one another. While some community members find themselves complaining about our growing unhoused population here in Plattsburgh, other community members have the responsibility to teach them that the already scarce resources to help these people return to a quality life, such as medical care, substance abuse care, and or mental health treatment, as well as food assistance programs such as SNAP, continue to be the same programs this bill sets out to destroy. With this bill, our struggling population of people here in our very district will continue to grow. My fellow healthcare workers behind me know firsthand how easy it is to become someone in a position of need. We see it every day. One accident, one diagnosis, one family member's income gone from tragedy is all it takes to be in this position. All of us are vulnerable to these cuts. Use today, guys, use today as a powerful reminder of the impact we can have through organized action. I think back to how Show Up began after caring for my terminally ill father, Mark Liberty. I needed a mission filled with the same energy, strength, and love, and I dove into this initiative, and I've watched as every single one of you have showed up alongside of me. Just let's take a moment to reflect. Who shows up for you and who doesn't? AOC and Tonko have faced criticism from Stefanik, who, by the way, haven't seen here in years. She only shows up for those who can give her money, not for those who truly need her help. But we are better than that. Together we will think outside of the box to support each other. Let's show up for our neighbors with kindness and without judgment. We will Together, we will break down barriers.
Together, we will break down barriers.
Together, we will build a brighter future.
Together, we will build a brighter future.
Together, we will be unstoppable.
Together, we will be unstoppable.
Thank you to all of the people that came today, including everyone else. Next up, we have Marvin Shaw, a lab assistant at CDPH and a proud union member representing 1199 SEIU. Everyone, give a warm welcome to Marvin.
My name is Marvin Shaw. I'm a proud member and leader of 1199 SEIU at CDPH. I've worked at the hospital for about 4 years. I'm here today to share with you why these Medicaid cuts that Congressmember Stefanik supported are so devastating. I've been cancer-free for 5 years. As a survivor, I know intimately how cruel and indiscriminate this disease is. I wouldn't wish it on anyone. You know, when it comes to cancer, did you know that Medicaid covers 1 in 10 adults in the U.S. with cancer? And 1 in 3 children with cancer rely on Medicaid for their life-saving treatment. Medicaid also covers 3 in 5 nursing home residents with cancer. This means that many of our neighbors, grandparents, caregivers, coworkers even, rely on Medicaid coverage in order to afford their copays for routine screenings, early diagnoses, and timely, life-saving treatment. Medicaid ensures people who have a high risk of cancer and people who are fighting cancer are able to survive the battle. In rural areas like ours, people with cancer who are on Medicaid are more likely to survive because they have the coverage they need for the treatment plans that will save their lives. Now let's think about what's going to happen to our neighbors, our grandparents, caregivers, friends, and coworkers who are going to lose their Medicaid coverage with the over $880 billion of cuts to Medicaid that Congresswoman Stefanik supported. What happens to them? What happens to our community and our family members who have cancer and rely on Medicaid? People we know and love will go without health care coverage and forego their treatments that will save their lives. These cuts are devastating and cruel, and I'm ashamed that my congressional representative, Elise Stefanik, voted in favor of taking away that state of care. At this time, please join me in welcoming our next speaker, who's not only a staunch friend of labor, but a champion of progressive values in Congress and here in New York. Someone who is no stranger to Plattsburgh. Please join me in welcoming to the stage our co-host for today's event, U.S. Congressman Paul Tonko.
I love this crowd. Thank you for the energy. Thank you for the enthusiasm. Thank you for the encouragement. Hello, North Country. I'm your immediate south neighbor to the 21st Congressional District. I represent New York 20. Paul Tonko is really thrilled to be here today with my good friend Alex, who I'll introduce in a moment. But to all of the folks gathered here, the working families, the people that have advanced the cause of building an economy in the North Country, all of our friends in the elected capacity and appointed capacity, and certainly our friends in labor. Thank you, labor, for building the middle class. The middle class has built America. It is so wonderful to be here to talk about frankness. You know, the Trump Stefanik team wants to call a big, beautiful bill. I'm with you. It's a big, beautiful betrayal. And it's not pretty. It is a beastly outcome for the working families, Americans across this country of all age demographics. And we're going to change that. We're going to continue to be the voice of opposition. We're going to make certain the outcomes in Washington are driving decency, dignity, respect for science. How about that? And that will deliver hope to the doorsteps of individuals and families across this great country. We need to do better than this betrayal. And you know, it's bothersome when our colleagues across the aisle were signaling to the press before the vote on the big betrayal that it was a terrible outcome. It was going to hurt Americans. It was going to deny health care. It was removing all sorts of assistance for hungry individuals in our society. And they still went forward and voted for it. And now their message is, we're going to work to fix it. We needed to fix it when we were passing this legislation and not inflict the pain that has been damaging. You know, this region holds a special place for many of us. And it does for me. It's particularly personal. My connection to the North Country runs decades ago when I attended Clarkson University. Down in the and there I witnessed in the North Country what I always respected. Values of community, of hard work, and the importance of looking out for one another. Those are just the ideals that run the North Country. We want to honor them and respect them. Right now, across this great state and indeed across our nation, we're facing real challenges. And frankly, the policies coming from Republicans, from Donald Trump to Elise Stefanik, simply aren't working for us. We're seeing relentless efforts to cut essential health and food programs, threatening the well-being of our most vulnerable neighbors. At the same time, they're jacking up energy costs, making it harder for families to heat their homes and fill their tanks. And let's not forget the ballooning deficit. All of it, ultimately to provide permanent tax cuts for who? For the billionaires, while the rest of us are left fighting for scraps. You know, when you take the cuts to health care, and you take the cuts to nutrition of 1.3 to 1.4 trillion, that equals the amount of money we're giving to billionaires and corporations, 1.4 trillion for their tax cut. We don't by simply skipping over that part of the process. So we need to fight this and fight for sure because they're giving us scraps. We simply cannot trust them to look out for our interests or build a future of benefits that serve everyone, not just the wealthiest few. So while Republicans make deep cuts to health care, we're fighting for a future where everyone has access to affordable care. Think of it, in this district alone, I believe it's some 295,000 individuals are on Medicaid. And when you tinker with Medicaid and Medicare to the tune of $1.5 trillion, you are going to make a major dent into service, affordability, accessibility to health care. Make no mistake about it. So while they choose to make energy more expensive, we're advocating for critical investments in clean energy that will lower costs, create sound-paying jobs, and protect our planet. Wow, what a great thought. I don't think they have that thought. Something I championed with Alex extensively on the Energy and Commerce Committee. And here's the sour note of their bill. When it comes to taxes, the contrast couldn't be starker. Permanent tax cuts for the rich, while working families get temporary crumbs that barely make a difference. A no tax on tips, a no tax on overtime, just to live around for 2 to 3 years. That's unfair. Those billionaires are going to have their tax cut forever. This is not just bad policy, it's betrayal of the basic Because health care, reproductive care, all of the efforts that we can take on behalf of America's families is a right. Coming here to Plattsburgh to say hi to a great portion of folks who are supportive of progressive politics that will move us forward. And Alex always leads with humility and humanity, articulating a clear vision for that better tomorrow and fighting in the given moment. I'm proud to call her my friend, and I know you'll be inspired by what she has to say today. Please join me in getting that traditional warm welcome of the North Country, the Congresswoman and the Senator of Plattsburgh, North.
And together, we've got a full house here. The other thing, though, is that even in the pouring rain, we have another 800 people outside. Shout out to our musical opener, Lillian Ledbetter, as well as the Clinton County Democratic Chair, Brandi Lloyd. Of course, I gotta give a shout out to our nurses of Nice and Jesse Murnane. We've got Marvin Shaw from 1199 SCIU. And of course, again, our Representative Tonko, and I can't thank you all. I have to, give extra gratitude to Paul. When I first got elected to Congress, the environment in the party was chilly, to say the least, in terms of my welcome. And I used to have an old mentor of mine. Back when a lot of people don't know, I actually first started doing community organizing in Texas, of all places. I know, it's crazy, right? But I used to organize Latino families and youth in Texas and in the Bronx, too. And, I had a mentor, and he would tell me sometimes, he's like, when times are good, everyone's your friend. But if you want to know who your real friends are, when you're just in a tough time and you've got one quarter, the people that you can think of, I'm dating myself, right, with Gen Z and big ones, but the people that you think of when you're holding out one quarter and who to call, those are your friends. Those are your real friends. And Paul Tonko is a real friend. all of that. But Energy and Commerce, the Energy and Commerce Committee is one of the most powerful committees in the entire U.S. House of Representatives. A lot of people don't know about 60% of all the legislation that passes through Congress passes through that committee. And so it's a very plum position that a lot of people are looking for, and it's also a target where a lot of lobbyists want to apply pressure, right? Everything with energy, everything with healthcare, pharmaceuticals, trade, manufacturing, technology, all of it runs through this committee. And when I was a freshman, and you know, it's like they say it's a dog-eat-dog world, and I was wearing milk-bone underwear. It was like that. And I had put in a request to serve on the Energy and Commerce Committee. People were like, who does this chick think that she is? It was actually Paul that was one of the only people that said, actually, she has something to contribute and to offer here. When we think about who is in, there's a lot of discussion about the leadership of the Democratic Party and the old guard, the new guard, and all of this. But a lot of times, some of the quiet, good people do not get enough recognition. And Paul Tonko is one of those people. You all are supporting him, and everyone who supports and organizes and has his back really does a service to the entire conference by sending him back every year. So I just want to thank you all so much for that. But fast forward, this year I finally did get on Energy and Commerce. And that's when this monstrosity showed up. What Trump calls his big, beautiful bill. And it's actually one of the ugliest and scariest pieces of legislation to pass through Congress in modern American history. It's a time that is easy and ripe for despair and lacking hope. And a lot of us sometimes, rightfully so, are looking around and saying, where are Democrats in this moment? Where is our fight? What are we doing to fight back? And when I think about this kind of dissonance and difference, I also know that this is where this change really belongs. It's right here in rooms like these and in theaters like the Strand. Because where we see, and I felt this way back in 2017 when I was waitressing behind and bartending. And I look around, and I remember looking up who my congressman was, and I was like, man, I've never seen this guy before in my life. But then I looked around and I saw how powerful he was. And I knew that it was never going to change unless someone put their hat in the ring. And no one was putting their hat in the ring, and no one had put their hat in the ring in 20 years. I know that there are future town council people in this room. I know that there are community organizers in this room. I know that there are future members of Congress in this room. We cannot let things be easy on anyone here who's participating in this. Every single Republican at every level of government in the state of New York must be challenged point blank, period. fighting against, but what we are fighting for. I want to make sure that I hear from you all. But I want to also be clear about something. A lot of times in times like these, there's this idea of who is qualified to step up. It's this idea that you have to climb some ladder and wait your turn and have a perfect pedigree. But that's not what our communities are about. It's not about picking who's going to come flying down to be our best representative. It's about who is representative of our experience. And so, if you're a rural farmer, you are qualified to do this job. If you're a waitress, you are qualified to do this job. If you're a nurse, I love a rural hospital that makes patients go, you are qualified to do this job. I want to talk about police department just for a minute. Bummer. You know, Elise Stefanik, she did this whole farewell tour in Plattsburgh and all these towns because she cut a sweetheart deal in the House. I sell out my community, and you made me ambassador to the UN. And she thought she had it in the bag, right? But I want to tell you about why that didn't work out. Because you all started changing political terrain out here in this seat. Did her farewell tour, and I think it's time to finish the job. Follow through that paperwork and call to government way too vulnerable enough to share about how this is affecting our lives. Because the fact of the matter is, it's very difficult for us to say, hey, that's my wife, that's my son, that's me. And what it allows them to do is fill that void with their storytelling, with their lies, and with their myths. And so one of the things that's important to me, and one of the reasons why I think it's important for us to come together today in this town hall, is to share some of those stories. And I don't ask you to do something that I myself am not willing to do. Because when I was running for office, I did not have health care. I ran for office completely uninsured. And there were, at the time, while I was fighting for health care for others, this was not something, I felt embarrassed to share this publicly. I felt, again, that people would think I was not qualified to run for office if I didn't have health care or if I was struggling to pay my rent. But the fact of the matter was, I understood what people were going through precisely because of what happened in their lives. It was just 2 or 3 weeks before my primary election. And I had gone to the doctor to get a checkup. You know, and that's the thing, when you don't have health insurance, every ache, every toothache, every joint fills you with terror and wonder, because you know that you can't really afford to see a doctor very much, and you don't know if there's something wrong or not. And so I had mustered up the courage to get a physical. And thankfully my doctor had felt, you know, we think everything is fine, but we just want to run a blood test to make sure. And I was in that exam room, and I just started to cry. I put my head in my hands and I started to cry because I couldn't afford a blood test. And they said, well, we think there's this free clinic where medical students will run some basic tests like these on the weekends, on like a Saturday or Sunday. And there's no list, there's no reservation, you just have to show up. So I'm running for office, I'm a candidate for Congress. And I show up at 7 o'clock in the morning to get in line for a clinic that opens at 8 a.m. And I get there, and I just have to wait. You just have to wait. And it felt just like my friends that I had worked with at the restaurant. There was a woman who was pregnant, and because she was from the UK, she didn't have access to health care here. And so she just waited at free clinics for all her prenatal care. And this is the country that we are living in right now. We have to really see and hear these stories to understand the stakes of this moment. And so I get in, I wait hours in this clinic. And there are volunteers knocking doors with palm cards with my face on it. It was a very complicated feeling. It was a very complicated feeling. But also, it's also the source of the energy, and it's the source of why we fight for these things so hard. Because when you've been there, you understand better than anyone else, better than any white paper, better than any statistic. Because when this bill is scored, and it says that there are 17 million Americans who will be kicked off of their health insurance because of it, we know what that means. We know that it's resources like that that will be flooded. And we know the stakes of it in that moment too. And so I wanted to make sure that we set that stage, because when we ask these questions, it's okay to say, I'm asking for me. I want to know for my sister. I know that my neighbor is dealing with this. And how do we come together to best fight and respond? Not just react, but respond on our front foot forward. And so I'm looking forward to having this conversation, and I want you all to know that this is not just a one and done deal. I am committed to Plattsburgh. Paul Tonko is committed to Plattsburgh, and to the entire town.
Hello, my name is Trinity. It's a pleasure to meet you both. And before I ask my question, I know we're short on time, but I did just want to show you both some love, but especially you, Alex, because I'm 20 now, but in 2020 I was 15 trying to enter and navigate a very politically intense world. And one of the first times I felt like honor and pride was watching you give your speech against Representative Yoho for insulting you. And I remember this being like, but my question actually has to do with Stefanik. We've been talking about reaching out to representatives and the best way to contact them, and I was wondering if you had any advice for anybody, but especially like Gen Z, because I've tried to call our office multiple times, and no matter the option I choose, I get a dial tone, and I'm just like, okay, I guess I can't speak to my representative, and it's just really saddening and disheartening to see, especially when we want to do so much work and change, even though we're at a small scale.
Well, you deserve better than a dial tone for representative. And the reason that anyone would do that is because they're scared. They know, and they know that what they are doing deserves consequences, and they want to run away from those consequences, so they just pull the plug on their phone line. Now, I think that absent, if they want to do that, then our responsibility is to also report that to the community. And the more that people start to realize that, and this is not even a Democratic or Republican issue, we are your public servants. We are here to serve you. So if you are a Democrat or Republican and independent, when you call your representative, they better pick up the phone. And that better connect through. And so when it doesn't, then the alternative, I would say, I'm an organizer, is to be public with that. And there's lots of creative ways to do that, which, you can do a Stefanik dial tone count, or really, it also involves like people showing up where she wants.
I would say too that this fight is for everybody. The rural states who had their Republican representatives saying what a terrible bill this is, and they kept going forward with the process, bending the knee to the leader. We're fighting, yes, for the upstate area, the North Country. We're fighting for all of New York, but it's affecting all of America. These rural hospitals in primarily rural red states, we have a mix, right, of hospital culture. In many of these states, it's all rural health care. And when you cut Medicaid and Medicare to the tune of $1.5 trillion, something's going to crash. And you know what? That access is very important to the lives of people. And their pain and their health and their illnesses aren't going to go away. And so where do they go? To the emergency room. Remind people what the consequences are to her vision and the president's vision. They go to the emergency room, it gets filtered into bad debt and charity, and it finds its way into all of our premiums. So why not do it the compassionate way, the American valued way, to just say, we appreciate you, we're going to cover you with dignity and determination you never done.
And if there's that boy, one of us can fill it, which is one of the reasons why we're here today. Thank you. We have a mic over here.
There's a 5-year-old girl in the southern part of Stefanik's district where I come from. She's just spent 11 weeks in Albany Med with a rare form of cancer. Less than 2 years ago, Stefanik bragged on her website about reintroducing the Fairness to Kids with Cancer Act. And a couple weeks ago, she bragged on her website about providing the deciding vote for Trump's big, stupid bill. And I hope I can maybe share with some staff member some specifics about this little girl. But the community is rallying around her family with everything from bottle drives to buying bracelets and pizza, and that goes to the heart of our broken healthcare system. But the bigger issue for her are all these cuts to cancer research. And I think that, Stefanik just is not showing up for this little girl.
Thank you so much. And, it's so powerful because we're about to go through a very difficult time as a country. They passed this vote, and we fought as hard as we can. We've passed this vote, and because of people like Elise Stefanik, who have the power to stop it, and instead chose to enable it, we are on the precipice, starting next year, of some very difficult times. Who here is on an ACA market kind of exchange insurance? Would you mind saying like the general, like the range, if you're comfortable, the range or cost per month of your insurance plan? $1,200. Pardon? $1,200 a month. And that's to cover you and your family, just for one person, $1,200 a month for your ACA exchange plan. Pardon? A high deductible plan. That's insane. Not only is that, and this is what we talk about this, because that's insane just to start, right? It already speaks to how challenging and broken our healthcare system is just to begin with. But we already got some estimates that these ACA plans, some of them are set to increase by, up to 75%? Is that right? Starting in 2026. Because of Elise Stefanik's vote. So we have to put on pressure to cancel these cuts and do what we can to reverse what's possible.
Alex, if I might, just quickly to the research. Alex and I were proud as Democrats that in mass, we introduced well over 100 amendments before the Rules Committee, before the vote on the big other bill. And the very last amendment was introduced by the ranking member for the Democrats on the Rules Committee, Jim McGovern. He and his family are grieving the loss of their daughter just weeks ago. He represents Worcester, Mass. Molly was assisted by the research at NIH. For a better quality of life, she had a great fight, and she got extended time. He stood up and begged them to reinstate the dollars from that cut to NIH for these rare forms of cancer. And the Republicans said no. Where is the humanity? And when we talk about these efforts with the subsidies for the Affordable Care Act, in this district alone, 10,747 people will be impacted, and their rates will be increased by 147%. 147% on average. So these are devastating stats. So the very first question, take the truth to them, because the truth is always victorious, and make them squirm in their lies and their misrepresentation. Y'all look good in the gallery, by the way, too. Let's hear it for the gallery, people.
I first want to say thank you both for coming here and speaking to us. And my name is Emmeline Bennett. I'm of the Mohawk people, of the First Nation people of New York City. And I'm a soon-to-be graduate from SUNY Plattsburgh, studying geology in December. And myself and many other of my friends and peers who are also studying geology, environmental science, environmental everything, ecology, are terrified to graduate and go out into this job world today and in the futures to come. And seeing this bill passed and seeing research being cut, all these policies being cut, essentially destroying our planet, and especially up here in the North Country, we are already seeing the effects of climate change, especially in the Adirondacks. We're seeing species move away from here. And I want to ask you, especially, how does this bill affect colleges in North Country are here, and if you have any advice for us soon-to-be graduates going out into this hard world to soon to come.
Thank you. So, I don't want this to be all doom and gloom, but we also need to be real about what's going on here. This bill has actually has so many riders tucked into it for the oil and gas industry. And this isn't just about cutting support for wind and solar, which is what they're doing, but also what they're doing is that they're actually inflating investments and making it easier for the fossil fuel industry more than even what the market supports right now. So that means creating and pumping and drilling for more oil and gas than what people even want. It means ending, for all the billions of dollars in fossil fuel subsidies that they support, it means ending the relatively much fewer supports and tax incentives for wind and solar. And it also has a massive jobs impact as well. There are a lot of jobs that are on the chopping block due to the Republican efforts to cut the support. And as it affects the climate change, this is something that's very important to me as well. And it's important not just legislatively, but personally. The Adirondacks are very close to me. I'm a backpacker, actually. And that's my way of trying to find sanity in those summer months. And the Adirondacks have always been a refuge for me when things have gotten really tough. You know, spending some time out there and connecting is so tremendously important. And the idea of it being at risk, a jewel of that being at risk for our state, is terrifying. But I do think that something that is important is that the renewable energy revolution is coming. They cannot out-subsidize the market here and where we are going. And the hard part is that Paul and I have worked really hard in how we do right by fossil fuel workers and the community of fossil fuel workers in this transition. Because believe it or not, when it comes to a lot of fossil fuel work, it's very compatible with geothermal energy. There is some necessity for drilling, but drilling what? We could be drilling oil out of the ground, or we could be installing sustainable geothermal energy systems. In a way that was better by our climate. And so I'm not giving up on that, and we've actually built some bipartisan consensus on investment in geothermal, and we have picked up some Republican support.
Alice earlier in her comments made mention of, not just being against something, but standing up for what we're supporting. And I think we need a Project 2026 and let the people know that we appreciate science and research. I'm thinking of a group just to the south in my district, neighboring district to yours in the congressional district, that is at risk of losing their entire operation because they're Medicaid dependable as a research lab. And what are they working on? 3 things: Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and macular degeneration. And they've made great progress. They're concerned they're going to have to fold. Now, even if they don't, when you're doing research in growing cultures and doing all of these tests and lab experiences, you don't just shut down for a day and then reopen a week later. It's all that interruption that comes. And as an engineer in this business, I respect science. And so for all those that are looking at a science-based career, know that we should, I believe, strongly advance research and making certain that we grow the science-based jobs. All this talk of this administration being competitive with China, all that mentioning of the incentives that Alice just made mention of, ties our hands behind our back. China is going to go out and continue to do these clean energy things, and we're at a risk of not being able to compete. So that is part of the platform too, to grow those jobs and put some of those elements in the energy
What's your name?
My name is Finnegan.
Hi, Finnegan.
Are you 41?
So I am 10 years old, and I want to know if you're gonna run for president. My name is Brandi, and I'm 9 years old. And my question is, what can kids do to help make the world fair for everyone, even if they're not old enough to vote?
Well, Finnegan, this is a crazy time. It's funny. I was having a retreat with my team. We were doing like a legislative retreat, and it's funny because we're planning for the future and going, what future do we plan for? And for me, I think it's one of the things that, and I'm just being very real about this, but one of the things that's kind of often talked about in questions like these is that there's always this horse race kind of conversation. What's in CNN politics, and what does the polling say, and what does this say, and what does that say? But also, I was elected at a very young age. And I was elected when I was 28 years old. I won my primary, and I then became the youngest woman to ever serve in Congress. I don't know, we'll see, but I know with support from people like you made me feel like I can do anything.
I think it's a great question because we need to think long range and immediate. Immediate, what can we do for kids? Make certain they're all fed. This whole thing of taking food on the mouths of children. And, we need to look at that big frame of that nutrition program. It's, yes, going to impact all the hungry across the age scale, but it's also going to affect workers, and it will drain $30 billion from the farming community that provides the food. And so we need you to grow strong. And so nutrition is a big part of your development. Nutrition is a big part of staying well or recuperating for the senior community. So it affects everyone. And then to your future, I think it's so important for us to leave you a better planet, because it's important that the air you breathe is cleaner, the water you drink is safer, and we go forward making certain we're better stewards of our environment and of our planet.
I think you might probably be hearing and seeing a lot of stuff on television and radio, and a lot of the stuff you might hear is mean. And it may sound cruel, but it may be talking about different kinds of people in mean ways. And sometimes I think adults don't realize that the way they talk trickles down, and it affects the way that kids talk. And I think that one of the most important and powerful things that you can do is, if you see someone being bullied, to stand up for them. To go talk to them. Or if you see a kid whose lunchbox doesn't look like your lunchbox, to share with them. And as much as what adults can do can trickle down to kids, a lot of times what kids can do can trickle down to parents.
Really quickly for Finnegan. So my name is Piper T, and I spent the past 3 years of my life serving on the New York State Governor's Council. There's a representative, not a lot of people know we exist, but there is a representative from every single county crime in the state of New York. And I know for a fact, any of the kids in this audience are 13 years old. My seat in Franklin County just got vacated. So go online and apply. If you are able to check it out, it's a great way to get directly involved. It's a great way to raise some good trouble. I would like to pivot a little bit. Staying sort of in the realm of youth, and I know you guys talked about government education, I would like to talk about the VA. I am currently a junior in college at The Ohio State University, and I'm a recipient of the post-9/11 GI Bill. I am the proud daughter of a U.S. military major who spent the past 23 years of her life, all of my life, serving this country. She recently retired in April. I could not be more proud of her. She cannot be here today. She has her side, but shout out to my mom. I love her. I think she's watching that. Because of her, I'm a recipient of the post-9/11 Chapter 33 GI Bill. And because of that bill, I have the amazing opportunity to go to Ohio State University and he went to Michigan. It's a great opportunity that I would not be able to afford without this bill. This past semester, with the transition of power, now I recognize the GI Bill is usually administered about a week and a half late. Universities know, they plan. This past semester, the GI Bill administered for every single student 2 months late. I got an email. I am in a licensing program handled by the Department of Ed and the state. I was 2 days out of getting kicked out of my program. I was put on probation by my university. My advisor had to get special permission because I lost credits for my classes because it was so late. I know there's a lot going on right now in our government, but I'm in a program, if I get kicked out of my program, it delays my graduation 2 years. And the GI Bill only covers 4 years, so that is 2 more years that I don't have to pay. And I'm not going to transfer. I started out, I'm a graduate of the Clarkson School. And actually, a friend of mine who's right back there was my mentor when I was a member of the Clarkson School. And I transferred. I cannot transfer again. My credits can't handle it. But I'm sorry. I guess it's my message to Lisa Stefanik is I'm sorry I have the audacity to want a good education. I'm so sorry I have the audacity. But I guess it's just, is Congress aware that this is happening? Is there something that's going to be done? Because I know it seems like it shouldn't be a huge thing to a lot of people out there, but it is, because there are tens of thousands of people on these bills. I mean, they're 2 months late. People in nursing programs are getting kicked out. We need more nurses. We have a nursing shortage. I'm in a teaching program. We're getting kicked out. We have a teaching shortage. I don't know. It's absolutely.
Well, first and foremost, I just want to make sure that everybody on the team can just flag this, because if your representative is not picking up your phone to advocate for you. Okay, good. She ignored me, but I did show up. Well, here's the thing. This is a basic thing when it comes to constituent services. A lot of people think members of Congress' job is just voting or making statements, but our job is to actually also solve problems like these for you. And I know Paul has excellent constituent services. It's something that I take very seriously as well, because people can pass whatever programs they want, but your experience of it is what defines if this thing works or not. And it's not. And the GI Bill is one of the greatest legislative achievements that we had in American history. But if it's not working for you, how good can it be if it's not being implemented right? And this is exactly what was the risk with Donald Trump appointing, not just him, but him choosing to appoint charlatans to the head of every agency. Because he thinks that a made-for-TV cabinet is what is good for this country. What we actually need is a secretary of the VA. And folks who are running the VA who actually know what they're doing, not what's just playing well on Fox News and who's got the best hair gel on. Okay? So, when you invite other charlatans like Elon Musk and Doge, this is exactly the kind of stuff that happens. Things start breaking and tearing apart at the seams. You get
you get administration of the GI Bill that comes 2 months late instead of what's on time, and that starts having rippling effects. And then this bill also cuts the recipients of secondary education, people who want to go to medical school and law school, with their Pell Grants, and far more. It reduces the amount of federal aid when we need a nation that is highly educated to be globally competitive.
Alex, if I might, while we're on veterans benefits, by the way, thank you to all the veterans in the audience who and in a special way, welcome home to the Vietnam era veterans. Thank you. You can't say that often enough. Welcome home. Yesterday, I spoke to a group of veterans concerned about the VA, and the cuts 17,000 across the nation to the VA system, and now they're proposing another 12,000. Why do they say? Because the numbers spike. Well, it spiked since 2019 because one of the best things in decades that Congress has done with Democratic leadership was the PACT Act. And it covers those who have been exposed to toxins and toxic care. And so you need the medical provider to be there to make sure that the bill is implemented for our veterans. So, again, truth matters, evidence-based discussion matters. So let's keep fighting it with truth and Victoria. So everyone,
some people I know, a couple people around here. I've been going Viola. I'm trying to get out for a little bit. I've been going to Gallery. Been trying out something new. And to this last November election, I remember when I saw that he had won, I was devastated. I don't really talk about it a lot, but there was just a point where I stopped planning for the future. Because I didn't know what was going to happen, because I know one thing for certain, I'm not detransitioning, I'm never going to stop experiencing this joy and finally happy of a person I'm starting to see the world. The question I'm trying to get at is how do I start the fight? Because I know there's a part of me that's looked at how do I get out of this country? How do I run? But I've lived in this North Country for almost my entire life. I don't think I can bring myself to run because it's not just me who's under a gun, it's my fellow members of the LGBTQ, my siblings that are under attack. How do I start and help fight that?
Let's give Valerie a big round of applause. I really want to give short shrift to this because, especially when it comes to our trans family and our trans neighbors in this moment, because of the volatility and the rancor and the meanness in so much of what's been normalized in our public conversation. It is not an understatement to say, and I know you feel this and know this, that standing up and being yourself and not hiding who you are is a genuine act of tremendous courage. There are little trans kids that look at you and say, there's a future possible for me. And there are gay kids, and there are even in of sexual orientation, just kids who are unique and who are used to being bullied. Seeing someone be themselves is a huge form of inspiration, but also what's very important about this is that just like in so many other fights, people oftentimes think they don't know a queer person, or they think they don't know an undocumented person, know a person that doesn't have health insurance until they know, until that person shows up in their life. And one of the most persuasive, heart-changing things for so many people is they may have an idea or position or belief, but then when it affects someone they know and it touches their life, it opens up their mind. And so, first and foremost, your decision to continue being yourself is more powerful than you know. It's for you, but it's for the community too. And specifically, you being who you are becomes a magnet for community. Because then other people who are being themselves, who want to be themselves, will be drawn to you. And that's when we can start telling our stories and making these huge changes together. And so I want to thank you so much, Valerie, for standing up and doing that.
Thank you. You're triggering a quick thought in my mind because just the other day, there was a denouncement of an action taken by this administration to cancel option 3 on the 988 suicide hotline, suicide prevention hotline. If you punch 1, we serve our veterans who are at risk. If you punch 3, it's with the LGBTQ plus community and making certain that we're there in response. Alex invoked kindness in the question that came from the front row. And, you know, I agree with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Only love can conquer hate. And so now we're denouncing that action and demanding it be reinstated. We've got circulating a petition to draw people to support the reinstatement of that cut of option 3 on the suicide prevention hotline. And we want our plan at the LGBTQ plus community to know they're respected, they're loved, and we understand their pain, and we want to help respond to it. One love.
Thank you. They weren't running mics upstairs, so I found my way here. The Republican Party has spent decades building disciplined, long-term infrastructure from the courts to state legislatures to ideological think tanks like Project 2025. Meanwhile, many voters feel the Democratic Party lacks a similarly cohesive and strategic roadmap. You both touched on internal Democratic weaknesses, AOC around campaign execution and infrastructure, and Congressman Tonko on messaging and unity. I'm from your district, by the way. What specific structural reforms, not coalition building, would you implement within the party to ensure we build an actual long-term strategy like Republicans have with the Federalist Society or Project 2025?
When these conversations sometimes get started, I'll give you my take, right? This is just me. I was thinking for anyone else. But I think something that complicates this is that the corrupting role of big money is tearing apart both Democratic and Republican politics and politics of this country as they have. And the influence of billionaires has really had, it's not a partisan thing. The influence of big money in politics really sometimes prevents or can get in the way of advocacy for what especially people in the base of the Democratic Party, the grassroots of the Democratic Party believe, because we believe in standing up to big money and big power. And so, but that doesn't mean that all hope is lost or that all hope is gone. In New York, specifically, we have fusion voting. And so that I'm proud to run both as a Democrat and as a working family party. And that allows us to expand on platforms and to be able to say, like, this is what we believe in beyond just what the DNC general platform is. And so in terms of infrastructure, it looks different in every county and in every area, right? The work that needs to be done out here in the northern country is a little different than the infrastructure work that we do back home in the Bronx. But it doesn't mean that they are counter to one another. They're all in service of the same ultimate goals: a living wage, guaranteed health care, a fair and just immigration system. So to me, one of the things that I think is very important that we work on as well is doing a lot of that base building. Is, these rallies that we did here, or the rallies that we've done with Bernie, people are signing up to be connected with one another. And so a lot of revitalization of some of the infrastructure that we currently have, whether it's your county Democratic Party getting flooded with a bunch of new blood, or whether it's reworking and making sure that we have working families party candidates in every single county across the state of New York. And those are two examples of infrastructure that I think is incredibly important. But Paul, you have...
Yeah, I think certainly HR 1, when we were in control of the House, was about getting the dark money out of politics, and that is not accounted for. They can name some snazzy naming group and put the ticker tape on the bottom of the ad, and it sounds like, whoa, these people are all for good stuff with healthcare or pharmaceutical needs and stuff like that, but it's bogus. So we really want that truth factor to be part of it through HR 1 that we had designated earlier. But I think also it's about making certain that in our platform, we require a commitment to honor the Constitution, to respect the Constitution, to respect rules of law, and to make certain that the distinct powers of our three branches of government are honored by the party. As a Democratic Party, we need to make sure that we honor that distinction, because right now we're seeing concentration of power as one being. And the court gets expanded. But I think there's a lot of reforms that we need to do and pledges that we need to take and get that document out that stands for the progressive kind of government that we want to push forward, and making certain that many of us are not put out of existence by the very few of us who are going to be taking home this billionaire tax cut.
Thank you all so much for